Analyzing meeting minutes with ChatGPT and Whisper, coding with the Apache POI project, the awesomeness of Buckaroo Banzai, how to pronounce ChatGPT, you'll see it'll be different from that, and the usual assortment of social media tweets, toots, and skeets. Welcome to Tales from the Jar Side. Welcome to this week's edition of Tales from the Jar Side. My name is Ken Cousin, and the title this week I basically gave you. So the subtitle is, Which of King Arthur's Knights Built the Round Table? Well, circumference, of course. Yeah, that was really awful. I apologize. But not sorry. Yeah. Welcome, fellow jarheads, to Tales from the Jar Side, the Cousin IT newsletter for the week of October 15th through 22nd, 2023. This week I taught my latest features in Java course as a no-fluff, just stuff virtual workshop. That was kind of fun because I upgraded everything to Java 21. I also taught my regular software design course for the Trinity undergrads at Trinity College in Hartford this week, and I'll be doing the same for the rest of the semester. Regular readers of and listeners to, and of course video viewers of this newsletter are affectionately known as jarheads and are far more intelligent, sophisticated, and attractive than the average newsletter reader or listener or viewer. If you wish to become a jarhead, please subscribe using the button on the newsletter. This is also available at the newsletter's homepage, kencousin.substack.com, as you can see here. And this is our cue to take a look at the corresponding YouTube page. Here we have it. Tales from the Jar Side is at youtube.com/@talesfromthejarside. And as you can see from this, I am up to 825 subscribers as of today. The big video that I posted this week, other than the newsletter video, is this new one called Java-Powered OpenAI Tutorial, Transcribe and Analyze, as you'll see. I think if I mouse over it, do I see the whole thing? Yes, transcribe and analyze meeting minutes. So we're going to be taking a look at a little bit of that. Let's go back to the newsletter. So this section was based on a tutorial that is available at OpenAI. See, this is the platform.openai.com page, and then inside there, see if I go back to that page, here's platform.openai.com, and if I go to the GPT one, you can see there's a little block here called tutorials. And when I go to tutorials, there are supposedly 3 entries here. The website Q&A with embeddings is long and complicated and has tons of Python code in it. I'm digging into that these days to try to understand embeddings a lot better. The coming soon one has been coming soon since I got my account here, so better part of a year. Soon is apparently a very relative term. And then here is the one I'm dealing with now, Meeting Minutes Transcription with Whisper. So that's the title, Creating an Automated Meeting Minutes Generator with Whisper and GPT-4. Now, I don't want to get sucked into giving you the whole video in this newsletter video. I'll just try to summarize here. The idea is that they give you an audio file to download, which is only 3 minutes long. So yeah, I'd love to have meetings that only last 3 minutes. It hasn't happened much for me. I don't know about your experience, but so be it. And then they want us to do the following. This little block of Python code uses one of their audio classes to transcribe the audio file into text, and then summarizing and analyzing the transcript with GPT-4, if I scroll down, does the following. It extracts a summary of an abstract, if you will, and then grab the key points and then find the action items and then do a sentiment analysis. And all 4 of those are then returned in this little, well, what Python will call a dictionary. In Java, we would call it a map. And if you look at all this, it basically is just a series of requests to GPT-4 where the only difference is the content. You're a highly skilled AI trained in language comprehension and summarization I'd like you to read the following text and summarize it, and so on and so on. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4 of those. And what I did in the video is I ported all of those to Java. So I used my Java API that I've been building up over several of the earlier videos in the AI playlist in order to do the transcription and the processing of the text afterwards. Now, there's a couple of quirks here that I do want to mention because they were interesting. One is that the file they give you to transcribe exceeds their size limitation. I mean, Whisper only allows you to upload 25 megs in terms of the file size, and the file that they have you download is 48 megs. So already, if you just tried to do the tutorial the way it's listed, it isn't going to work. You have to turn that file into chunks, if you will. Now, again, that was part of an earlier video in my series, so I just reused that and it worked fine. I made 2 20 meg chunks and an 8 meg chunk and transcribed them all, and it works out fine. The other interesting thing is that after doing all this processing, they take the transcriptions, provide it to GPT-4 with their query 4 times, and then this little section here on exporting the meeting minutes is all about generating a Microsoft Word document. And I made various disparaging comments in the video about that little exercise. Like, no, that's a bridge too far, and I'm not going to go to all that trouble and everything. What I have to tell you in the newsletter is, of course, I couldn't leave well enough alone. And if you go to the code here, so this is the code from the GitHub repository. This is my Whisper tutorial class. Here I have the transcribe mechanism, and there's the ChatGPT class. So first of all, I do the transcription, and then I have a little map here of those 4 different prompts that they supplied. Here's what the prompts look like, by the way. This was simply copying and pasting them into a class and reformatting them to use Java's text blocks. So I have the multi-line strings. So there's the summarize prompt, the key points, the action items, and the sentiment. And then in the tutorial, I basically build up a concurrent map where the key are these strings here, and those are going to be the names of the files that I'm going to output. And then the values come from calling get response on these prompts with that transcription. And then what's new is, I write them to a Word document. I did. If you take a look at the Gradle build file, you'll see that I now have the dependencies in there for Apache POI, the POI website, their project, Poor Obfuscation Interface, which is no longer spelled out. And if you actually looked at my file utils class here, this is the write a Word document, and it deals with an XWPF document, whatever that is. Looks like WordPerfect to me, but that's not what it is, obviously. And I transform those titles, the little key there with the underscores. I extract the underscores and put initial caps for all the words. And then I add the title to this Word document, and then I add the text to the Word document. Again, in the key points, that one's a numbered list. So I went to extra trouble to format that as a numbered list in the document. Otherwise, I just write it and then finally save it all to a file. And if I was to run it, the file you would get out of it looks like this document, meeting minutes.docx. And there's the sentiment, there's the action items, and as you see, there weren't any. There's the summary of everything. I probably shouldn't call it summarized, but okay. And then the key points came out as listed. There were 14 of them. And hey, I generated a Word document. Oh boy. So I did all that. And that's the part that's not in the video. So everything else in the video is the part where I do the extraction and summarize the contents and all of that. And you can read about it if you like. And there's the video embedded into the newsletter. Then I talk about Apache POI. Now, this brought up an old story because I remember when Apache POI was basically not necessarily when it was first released, but an early release of it came up in something I had to do for a client dealing with, I think at the time it was Excel spreadsheets. But in this case, the POI project is still, after all these years, the best free open source Java library for interacting with Office documents. And at the time, POI was a rather contemptuous commentary about Office formats, and I used Google Bard to ask about it. I didn't use ChatGPT. Google Bard is out there and it's been updated. It's still not great, but it's more current than ChatGPT. So I just asked it, what do the letters POI stand for? And it says it originally stood for Poor Obfuscation Implementation. This was a humorous reference to the fact that Microsoft Office file formats that the library was designed to read and write seemed to be deliberately obfuscated, but poorly, since they were successfully reverse engineered by the POI developers. However, the POI project has since removed the explanation of the acronym from its official web pages in order to better market the tools to businesses who would not consider humor appropriate. I wonder if Microsoft also got offended. I have no idea. It also refers to the existence of the Hawaiian poi dish made from mashed taro root, which had similarly derogatory connotations. So at any rate, that's a snippet from Bard. And of course, the one I really liked, that you saw that XWPF. Well, the HWPF stands for horrible word personal file format, and then it switched to XML as of 2007 when they went from doc to docx files. So that's been a long time. Many of you probably didn't even know they used to have the old format. But there was that blurb as well. The one that was my favorite was this one, which was HSSF for spreadsheets, which stood for horrible spreadsheet format. That was my favorite in there. So I just point out it's all in there. And the picture that I just showed was the happy robot jumping in celebration from when I accomplished the task successfully. Now, the thing about using DALL-E 3 inside of GPT-4, because you have to do it through the web page. There's no other obvious way to do it right now. I'm waiting for them to update the API, but they haven't done that. At any rate, the way you use it through the web page is you put in a simple prompt, just a few words, and then it generates longer prompts from that. So in this case, the prompt it generated was photo of a compact robot. I didn't say compacts, so it came up with that. With expressive digital eyes, bouncing in delight in an office setting. Papers are fluttering around and a computer screen nearby displays a task completed message emphasizing its recent achievement. And yeah, I mean, nice job. You know, there were a few more that it came up with, and of the 4 that it generated, I liked those. So this one rather, so I stuck with it, although they were all pretty good. So I do like those happy little robots, and I, for one, welcome the arrival of our new AI overlords. At least I will, as long as they don't make me write any more Apache POI code. Now, I have to admit, I had Bard generate the initial structure of that code. It was typical Bard, meaning it was okay, but it wasn't really good. I had to go and refine it myself, and nowadays you could put the document in a try with resources block, you know, things like that. And a lot of the methods it called were deprecated. I had to update all that, but it didn't take too long, or rather I got wrapped up in it and it didn't seem like it took too long, but it took a couple hours to get it all working. Okay, hopefully I won't have to write any POI code for a long time again. Next section. I wasn't sure what to write about this week for my non-technical part. And what happened was I was browsing through my list of saved Toots on Mastodon, and somebody wrote, RoboCop is about a guy who died on the job, and they made him come back to work anyway. Yeah, that's pretty much the size of it, isn't it? And of course, RoboCop is a fantastic movie. I think it's one of the best science fiction movies ever. Certainly one of the top ones of the 80s, and that's a pretty bold statement. There were a lot of good science fiction movies in that decade. So I do think very highly of it. Of course, what most people remember it for is that it was the movie that made Peter Weller a big star. Peter Weller was the lead, Murphy, and became the cop named Murphy in old Detroit and wound up being turned into RoboCop. There's an excellent video. Maggie Mae Fish has a whole bunch of videos, and I usually watch her stuff on Nebula, but there are issues or episodes of her film school with Maggie Mae Fish on YouTube. I think I have this link is to the IMDb page, but you can find them on YouTube as well. And she did a really insightful long video on RoboCop, and she pointed out a lot of it can be interpreted as a trans allegory, which is quite topical these days, although her video came out, I think it was 2019, so it's been a little while. At any rate, everything she does is good, so I do recommend watching anything she put out. Now, that's true. Peter Weller was RoboCop, and that became his definitive role, defining his whole career, unless you were one of the very, very few of us who saw The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension. Here's the Wikipedia page for that. There you go. Kind of an odd little image there for it, but there's the cover, and this was just a totally unexpected, absolutely wonderful movie. I really loved it. It came out in 1984. That was my transition year. I graduated from MIT in June, and I enrolled as a grad student at Princeton in September. So I think it came out in the fall, actually, because I do remember seeing it in Princeton. And they made a bunch of references to New Jersey, and of course, Dr. Emilio Lizardo, played by Lord John Wharton, or played by John Lithgow, actually, who became Lord John Wharton, the leader of the Black Lectroids and all that. He was a professor at Princeton, and so was Hikita, Professor Hikita, who helped out. Anyway, there were a lot of Princeton and a lot of New Jersey references in it as well. I really enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was a great movie, and I became a big fan over the years. So I asked ChatGPT to summarize the movie for people who'd never seen it before. And I'll just give you a paragraph out of this. It says, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the 8th Dimension is a cult classic from the 1980s that effortlessly blends science fiction, action, and quirky humor into a unique cinematic experience. At its heart, the film follows the enigmatic Dr. Buckaroo Banzai, a neurosurgeon, rock star, and physicist, yes, you read that right, as he takes on a mission that spans dimensions. Yeah, it doesn't even begin to communicate how weird this movie is. There's some great world building going on. There's all kinds of layers, and yet there's practically no exposition. They just kind of drop you into this world and assume you know what's going on. And you scramble to figure out, wait a minute, what is that? What is this? What's the other? And, just Buckaroo Banzai starts off doing neurosurgery in the movie. And, of course, then he goes out to the jet car, which is about to break the dimension barrier as a physicist. And, of course, they have a gig that night in New Jersey as the Hong Kong Cavaliers, the hard-rocking band. And in the band, of course, he plays the guitar, and then he plays... it's not a trumpet, the little trumpet, I forget what you call it, a smaller one, and then he plays the piano, and it goes on, and of course they become involved in this bizarre problem with in the middle of the Cold War, basically in '84, and it looked like there's going to be an interdimensional conflict and problems. It's great. The other thing that summary doesn't really get across is how phenomenal the cast is, too. I did point out this scene in the movie where a couple of random duck hunters accidentally shoot down a black lectroid thermopod. Or is it a red lectroid thermopod? I'll have to check that. And they search for it in the darkness, and then they stumble across a comic book in the swamp where they're wading through. And, of course, one of the duck hunters says, oh, it's Buckaroo Banzai. It's the latest issue. Meaning not only did they know who Buckaroo Banzai was, not only did they know he had a comic book and recognize him from the cover, they knew it was the latest issue. I mean, that's how big this guy is, The cast is just unbelievable. John Lithgow is totally over the top. We had no idea how brilliant he was at that time. I mean, I didn't know anyway. I didn't think he hadn't played massively over-the-top characters like that. I think that his performance in that movie is partly what led to Third Rock from the Sun, the TV series that he starred in for many years after that. Christopher Lloyd is his brilliant self as usual, as John Big Boutte, pronounced Big Boutte. Jeff Goldblum is Jeff Goldblum, of course, playing New Jersey instead of Tex, but he's got his spurs and, I Can you sing? Well, no, but a little. I can dance, you know. Jeff Goldblum. I mean, okay. And yeah, it was the red electroids who crashed through the dimension barrier on Halloween in 1938, and they hypnotized Orson Welles into covering it up by transmitting the War of the Worlds broadcast. And then after that, they formed a defense contractor called Yoyodyne Propulsion Systems in Grover's Mill, New Jersey, and they're building their ship to get back to the 8th dimension and conquer Planet 10 all over again. Ellen Barkin plays Penny Pretty. She's great in it. And by the way, as a really obscure reference here, as I say, Jonathan Banks. Jonathan Banks, who became so famous later because of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul and everything, is the hospital guard for Dr. Lizardo in the middle of the Trenton home for the criminally insane. And he's got hair and everything. I mean, you'd barely recognize the guy, and he's great, of course, because of course he's great. And of course, we also have Clancy Brown, you know, way before he became famous from Shawshank Redemption, playing a good guy, you know, as Rawhide, one of the Hong Kong Cavaliers. Ronald Lacey's in there. I mean, Robert Ito is in there. Rosalind Cash is in there. It's just, if you get a chance to see it, you really need to see it. So I went on and on about it, and you could read more about it if you like. There were some great quotes I had to pull out, like, of course, Buckaroo at the gig he's playing stops in the middle and says, "Is somebody out there not having a good time? Is somebody crying?" And of course, it's Ellen Barkin playing Penny Pretty. And he says, sits down at a piano, and they start making fun of her. He says, hey, now, don't be mean. We don't have to be mean. Because remember, no matter where you go, there you are. And, you know, it's a cliche now, but that was the first time I'd ever heard it. That was phenomenal. There's famous lines like in the trailer. They go, "Buckaroo, the White House wants to know, is everything okay with the alien spacecraft from Planet 10, or should we just go ahead and destroy Russia?" And Buckaroo says, "Tell him yes on 1 and no on 2. Which one was yes? Go ahead and destroy Russia or number 2? Yeah. I cracked up when the president was reading Declaration of War. Underneath it says the short form. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Lord John Wharfin's most famous line, "Laugh a while you can, monkey boy." Yeah. Oh my goodness. Apparently there was a tailor on set who had a really heavy Italian accent, and John Lithgow used him to help him get an Italian accent combined with the weirdness of the alien, and actually got the guy a credit in the movie as John Lithgow's dialogue coach, believe it or not. And of course, may I pass along my congratulations for your great interdimensional breakthrough. I am sure in the miserable annals of the earth, you will be duly enshrined. You know? I should have put in the video. Oh, that's such a great line. Seeing that quote in text doesn't communicate the dripping contempt expressed by Wharfin.
May I pass along my congratulations for your great interdimensional breakthrough. I'm sure in the miserable annals of the earth, you will be duly enshrined.
Someday I'd love for someone to tell me that in the miserable annals of the earth, I too have been duly enshrined. So I'll stop now. As you might imagine, I can go on and on about this movie. I've seen it a countably infinite number of times. I basically have it memorized at this point. If you don't like it, fine. I get it. You don't have to let me know about it. I enjoy it, you know. And I mean, you do you, but my wife suspects that when I first showed it to her, if she hadn't liked it, we may not have gotten together. Yeah, that would have been a real problem. She loves it, of course. When the movie came out, I just moved there, so all the local references made sense. All right, let's go on to our tweets, toots, and skeets. This is my favorite tweet in weeks. It says, "I heard the Twitter feed Quinny Pig pronounced ChatGPT as ChatGPT. And I think I'm going to have to start saying it that way too." And somebody replied, "It must also be sung, chat chippity chim chim chiri." So yeah, I'm one of those jokes where I go like, oh, I wish I'd thought of that. How did I miss that? That's so obvious. It's great. So I went to GPT-4 and asked it to flesh out the lyrics, you know, because it got the Mary Poppins reference, the Chim Chim Cherie. And I tried, and I don't think it did a great job. I mean, you see the first verse, ChatGPT, Chim Chim Cherie. To ChatGPT I turn when curious I be. So it already doesn't scan. ChatGPT I turn when curious I be. Sometimes it's spot on like a bullseye hit, but other times, well, it might miss a bit. See, it tried to be real salesy and really favorable and everything. And I went, no. Try to give it some, you know, acknowledgments that it's wrong a lot. And it tried to do that. It's okay. Feel free if you want to dig into it. I'm often disappointed with anything that GPT is supposed to be humorous about. I mean, if you try to ask it to generate humor, I know humor is very subjective, but I don't think it does a great job. At any rate, you could take a look. It took me a couple of minutes, you know, because he just kept asking it, no, try again, giving it a little bit of feedback each time. Because that's, by the way, the difference between these AI tools and having a smart but inexperienced intern is what people compare it to. I mean, an intern, you wouldn't say, well, give me 10 things, and then when they give you 10, you go, nah, give me another 10, or no, give me another 10. Whereas with the AI tools, that's kind of how you work with them. Yeah, just now try again. This was great. Temptation, I called it. You can see from this little hoop here, there's a basketball hoop surrounded by pumpkins. And I don't know about you, but as I say, thank goodness I don't work there or anywhere near there, or those pumpkins will be going through that hoop. Okay, here, a light dawns. Again, I can't magnify this. Isaac Newton inventing the woke agenda in 1669. His original experiments with prisms, of course. Creating a spectra. Not only the rainbow, but look at that hair, the wig there, and those shoes, and his quote assistant watching it all happen. So many coded messages, so little time. Yes. This was great. I titled it Your Dog Won, and it says, this message stamped on the squeaker inside the stuffed animal my dog just destroyed. And if you could read it, it says, game over, your dog won, discard this squeaker. So I'm sure the dog was a good dog, yes. Another old movie reference, it says Alien, the original, is a movie where nobody listens to the smart woman and then they all die, except for the smart woman and her cat, 4 stars. I mean, I've seen that. That's an old one, but it's still good. And I always liked it. I like the sequel, you know, the James Cameron version, Aliens, which isn't really a horror movie, it's action-adventure. I like that. The other movies I didn't care for. Alien 3 was just horrific. I've never watched it again. I hated it. The Joss Whedon one, I think that's Alien Resurrection, has some good parts in it. I guess I'd say a third of that is a pretty good movie. I don't think it makes it to half. She's good, of course. And there's some other good performances in it. A lot of actors that you'll recognize from other things. Actually, Dan Hedaya is in that. One of the guys from Buckaroo Banzai is also in that. One of the guys who played Electroid is also in Alien Resurrection, now that I think about it. How about that? Anyway, moving on. Do I have to show you everything? This says, hey God, can I magnify this one? Yes. Why did you make healthy food taste bad? Oh my God, do I have to show you everything? Saute them, and don't forget the seasoning. Stir and taste as you cook. It's delicious. Of course it is. If you look at the extra panel on the website, it says something like, and use a fork, because the guy's just holding it, you know. My wife agrees I don't eat enough vegetables, so, okay. And then finally, 'tis the season. What branch of mathematics does a one-legged ghost study? Boolean, as in Boolean. The problem is my wife didn't get the Boolean reference. So it's like, all right, I probably should have picked a different gag. But Booleans are true, false, the data type in most programming languages. Oh well, I tried. Boolean logic is a branch of mathematics. Named after George Boole, by the way. B-O-O-L-E, but fortunately they didn't make us remember the E on these things. So much for that. Thank you for listening this week. I had the latest features in Java. Of course, I have a version of that going on this week as well on the O'Reilly Learning Platform and my Trinity class. And I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see everybody next week.
Hey there, Des. It's time to tune in. Tales from the dark side, let's begin. Java, Kotlin, and Spring, oh my. Groovy, Gradle, don't be shy. Tales from the dark side, oh yeah. road, let's take a ride. From design patterns to the latest trends, your weekly tech dose that never ends.